Flesh-eating fish. A nin beast is basically a construct created from someone's nin. Most of the time, these things look alive and even act alive, whether they're humanoid, animal-like, or something in between. Some are elegant, some are practical, and some feel like they crawled straight out of a nightmare. Indoor fish lands comfortably in that last category. Indoor fish is one of the most disturbing nin beasts we ever see in the series. It takes the shape of a floating fish made entirely of bones, and it comes with a very specific rule attached. It can only exist inside a completely sealed room. Once that condition is met, the fish can freely move around the space and attack anyone inside. What it does to its victims is where things get truly messed up. Indoor fish eats human flesh while tearing into the body piece by piece. The horrifying part is that the person being eaten feels no pain. They do not bleed and they do not pass out. They stay fully alive and completely conscious the entire time, even as their body is being destroyed. Limbs can be shredded, organs can be damaged, and the victim still remains aware of everything happening to them. But the wounds don't properly exist while the fish is active, because nin basically puts the damage on pause. The moment the fish disappears, reality catches up. All the injuries suddenly take effect at once, which almost guarantees death if the damage is severe enough. So the victim doesn't just die, they endure the full experience first, then their body gives out afterward. This ability originally belonged to an unknown nin user before Chrollo stole it. Like many of the techniques he uses, Indoor Fish becomes a part of his arsenal through Skill Hunter, his ability to steal and store other people's powers under a long list of conditions. Chrollo uses plenty of stolen abilities throughout the series, but Indoor Fish easily ranks among the strangest and most unsettling. We see it in action when he fights an assassin hired by the 10 Dawns to take out the Phantom Troop. He summons 2 Indoor Fish inside a sealed room, and the next time we see the assassin, his body has been torn apart by the floating fish. Despite the damage, the assassin remains alive and conscious while the fish continues feeding on him. Then Chrollo opens the window. That single action breaks the condition of the ability, causes the fish to disappear, and instantly kills the assassin as all the wounds take effect at once. What makes Indoor Fish feel especially unsettling is how unnecessary the keeping the victim alive part seems from a combat perspective. If the goal were to simply kill someone, there are countless nin abilities that could do that faster and cleaner. Even with the logic of summoning battle-oriented nin beasts, there's no real advantage to preserving consciousness while the body is being eaten. This ability probably originally belonged to some twisted person who got their kicks from watching their victims get eaten bit by bit over time, keeping them alive the whole while and slowly driving them insane with terror. In a sealed environment, the user could stretch this out for as long as they wanted. It could be used to extract information through sheer psychological terror without leaving visible wounds until the very end. It could be used as punishment, entertainment, or a warning, especially since the damage doesn't manifest until the ability ends. The fact that Indoor Fish requires a sealed room also adds to the sense of control. Once the conditions are met, the victim has no real way out unless the user allows it. Opening a window or door becomes an execution switch. We only ever see the Indoor Fish used on that one unlucky assassin, so there's still a lot that we don't know about its limits. Based on how it works, it likely falls under a mission, since the user releases nin in the form of autonomous fish. Conjuration is also possible since the fish have a very physical and defined structure, but normally emitted or conjured constructs don't just stop functioning in open spaces. That sealed room requirement feels less like a natural limitation and more like a deliberate condition or restriction. Nin abilities often become stronger when the user accepts strict rules, and Indoor Fish looks like a textbook example of that. By limiting the ability to close spaces only, the user likely amplified its effects, including the victim staying alive and conscious no matter how severe the damage gets. When everything is put together, Indoor Fish ends up being horrifying for one simple reason. It turns death into a prolonged experience instead of a moment. A creepy doll that kills. Silent Majority is one of those nin abilities that feels quiet, controlled, and deeply unsettling the more you break it down. The user is an unknown assassin hiding aboard the Black Whale, blending in while picking targets at the worst possible moments. Instead of attacking directly, they rely on a marionette tied to a curse-like setup that turns innocent bystanders into walking anchors for murder. The ability revolves around a marionette that only the user and a possessed person can see. Everyone else is completely blind to it. The possessed individual is not the target, and they function more like a carrier. The marionette attaches itself to this host and follows them around unnoticed. From everything shown, the user can likely see through the marionette's perspective, which gives them eyes inside crowded rooms without revealing their presence. Silent Majority only works within a limited range, and within that range, the user can choose one of 10 possible targets. Once the user decides to act, the ability activates and the marionette begins its role. The danger ramps up because the user cannot afford to hesitate. If the marionette deactivates without killing anyone, the curse rebounds and kills the user instead. That condition forces commitment and dramatically increases how lethal the ability becomes. When the attack begins, 4 snakes are conjured from the marionette, but these are not normal snakes. Each one has multiple mouths spread along its body. They burrow into the target and create numerous holes, draining blood directly from inside the body. One snake takes 44 seconds to completely drain a person, but when all 4 attack together, they can empty an entire body of blood in just 11 seconds. Once the snakes are ordered to strike, the 4 snake eyes embedded in the marionette's chest light up, marking the point of no return. The killing spree begins inside Prince Woble's quarters, where guards discover Woody dead in a bathroom. His body is completely drained of blood and covered in large holes. The door was not locked, and the estimated time of death falls between 12:15 and 12:30. With no signs of forced entry, suspicion initially points to someone on the inside. Kurapika examines the body and determines it was a nin attack, most likely carried out by an outsider with nin abilities rather than an internal traitor. Later that same day, after the group returns from the first Sunday banquet, 4 more guards are found dead in a hallway. Their bodies showed the same wounds and complete blood loss. They had checked in only 15 minutes earlier and reported no problems, which means that the assassin is clearly operating close by and striking fast. On the second day of the voyage, the situation escalates during Kurapika's nin class, where guards and servants gather in one place, creating the perfect environment for Silent Majority to strike. The user triggers the ability and the marionette appears behind Furikov while remaining invisible to everyone except the unknown user and Lowberry, who has been possessed. As Kurapika sets up a white tape line on the floor and warns students not to cross it, the user observes closely. Kurapika assumes no one would risk punishment so openly, but Rihan immediately crosses the line, triggering a brief confrontation. The user realizes Rihan is not one of the 10 people currently within target range. That puts the user in a dangerous position. If the ability deactivates without a kill, the rebound will end their life. Faced with that risk, the user chooses to act early. When Lowberry notices the marionette and draws attention by asking a masked woman that no one else can see, the opening appears. Berrigan suddenly collapses. Something white coils around his neck as his face rapidly shrivels. The 4 snakes drain him completely in 11 seconds. Cicada fires at the snakes, but they melt away on contact, confirming they are nin constructs. At that moment, everyone realizes this is not a prince's guardian spirit beast, these are nin beasts under direct control. Once Berrigan dies, the marionette vanishes. Kurapika later uses his dowsing chain to clear suspects and explain that unlike the prince's parasitic beasts, these snakes were conjured and visible to everyone once they attacked. Bill points out that making the snakes visible greatly increases the user's personal risk, which strengthens the ability through nin conditions. Kurapika also notes that deactivating the ability causes the snakes to disappear and suggests manipulation is involved, describing it as a form of visually guided remote control. This means the assassin does not need to be physically present, only close enough for the curse to function. On the 3rd day, the assassin strikes again. Rihan is found dead in a bathroom, killed using the same method as before. By the 8th day of the voyage, the killing stops, at least for the moment. Kurapika remains alert, knowing that the user could strike again once conditions line up. The quiet, controlled cruelty Silent Majority brings puts innocent people at risk as they become unwilling participants simply by standing in the wrong place. The ability also punishes hesitation, forcing the user to kill or die, which removes restraint entirely. The speed of the blood drain, the precision of the targeting, and the psychological damage caused by unseen threats turn any crowded space into a death trap. Guardian Spirit Beast. A Guardian Spirit Beast is a parasitic nin beast born from the Sea Urn ceremony. This ceremony goes all the way back to the Kakian Empire's early days, when it was a small country surrounded by stronger neighbors that were ready to swallow it whole. According to ancient manuscripts, the first king of Kakian conjured the seed urn after being inspired by worm toxin. He then forced his own children into a deadly succession contest. Whoever survived took the throne. That brutal system is the reason Kakian grew into the superpower it is today. In the present, the seed urn becomes the trigger for the succession war. The current king of Kakian, Nasui Huiguoru, announces a grand voyage to explore the Dark Continent, led by Beyond Netero. What the public doesn't know is that the Black Whale 1 doubles as a floating battlefield. This is where King Nasubi plans to decide his successor through a death match between his 14 princes. The rules are cruelly precise. The succession war officially begins once the voyage starts, but it gets cancelled if any eligible participant dies before departure. Eligibility is limited to the children of the king's legal wives. Before the voyage kicks off, every qualified participant undergoes the seed urn ceremony. They don't fully understand what they're receiving, but each prince sheds a drop of blood into the urn and receives an egg. From that egg, a guardian spirit beast hatches to guard them. These beasts are parasitic nin entities tied to lineage and inheritance. They possess someone related to the deceased and are born from a powerful desire to ensure the continuation of that bloodline. Once attached, they feed on their host aura as their energy source. Their forms and abilities mirror the host's personality, values, fears, and ambitions. The darker the mindset, the uglier the result tends to be. The host has no real control over their guardian spirit beast. Since the beast comes from the seed urn and not from the host's own nin, it operates independently. Each host has exactly one guardian spirit beast. Some of these beasts can create other nin creatures, but those offshoots are not considered guardian spirit beasts themselves. Their appearances vary wildly. Some look humanoid, others resemble animals, monsters, abstract shapes, or barely have a form at all. Their behavior often shifts with the host's emotional state. When a prince feels rage, anxiety, or depression, the beast can visibly change in response. Most of the time, these beasts hover near their host, perch on their shoulders, or stay within arm's reach. Their positioning depends on their anatomy and instincts, not etiquette. Because they run on aura, they vanish if the host cannot supply enough energy. Extreme fatigue or the use of zetsu causes them to disappear completely. This creates a horrifying weakness because if a host exhausts themselves at the wrong moment, their supernatural guardian simply shuts off. Their level of awareness varies a lot too. Some barely react to lethal threats right next to them. Others clearly recognize people who can see them. Some stare back, some intimidate, and a few display awareness comparable to a human's. This awareness often reflects how observant and alert the host is. All guardian spirit beasts born from the Sage Seam Urn share two core instincts. First, they do not kill each other. Second, they do not directly attack a person who is possessed by another guardian spirit beast. These rules shape how the succession war plays out, but they also create loopholes that make everything worse. Ability-wise, there is no standard. Some guardian spirit beasts are little more than teeth and claws. Others provide support, coordination, or surveillance. Some can partially awaken others to nin or even grant their host nin abilities. Most of them protect their hosts from physical harm, including gunshots and suicide attempts, and likely defend against nin-based threats as well. How effective this protection is depends heavily on the host's personality and the beast's ability set. They are not invincible, and other nin abilities can destroy them. Moreover, they disappear once their host dies. But the winner's guardian spirit beast can persist even after the succession war ends. King Nasubi, who won the previous succession contest, has his own beast still in existence, which suggests the system never truly lets go of its victors. Here's another unsettling rule. Hosts cannot see their own guardian spirit beast. They also cannot see the beasts of other hosts from the same generation, even if they are nin users. Balsamico suspects a strict limitation or condition blocks that perception. Interestingly, a host from a previous generation can see the guardian spirit beast of the next. Kurapika believes these beasts are conjured, but they behave very differently from standard conjuration abilities. They remain invisible not only to their hosts, but to all non-users as well. That invisibility makes them extremely low risk. To pull this off, an absurd amount of aura must have been invested to give all 14 princes their own beast. Kurapika suspects a dense web of vows and limitations keep them active. He also theorizes that if a prince withdraws from the succession war, every guardian spirit beast would disappear. Despite that theory, many of these beasts can phase through solid matter, a trait usually associated with a mission. That alone makes them perfect tools for spying, sabotage, and silent enforcement. Now, let's get into the truly horrifying examples. The most disturbing guardian spirit beast belongs to the 4th Prince Tsuridnik. His beast resembles a horse-like creature with the head of a woman. It stands slightly taller than Tsuridnik, measured from foot to back. Its neck can extend around 4 meters and bend naturally like a real horse's, never needing to stay straight. At the end of that neck is the head of a beautiful woman with large eyes, a rounded nose, and full lips. Her ears are long, sharp, and pointed, closer to a jackal or a rabbit. Her mane flows down in the same pale color as hair on her head. That hair hides the real horror. Where normal ears should be, 3 pairs of eyes are concealed. Those eyes seem to be part of its true face. The creature can move its face, look around, and even drool. Near its eyes is a hinge that allows the mouth to open unnaturally wide. Inside are serrated teeth and another woman's head where a tongue should be. This second head has darker hair and a permanently pained expression. Stitches hold the outer cheek together and 2 thick fleshy tendons extend from the mouth. Each tendon ends in a small mouth that can scratch people. Its nin type and full ability remain unknown, but what it can do is already terrifying. Whenever Tsuridnik asks someone a question, the beast moves close and evaluates their response. If it judges the answer is truthful, it retreats. If it detects a lie, it cuts the person. If they lie a second time, the cuts worsen into a large infected wound. The beast can also speak. After a second lie, it verbally warns the victim not to lie again or they will be turned into something inhuman. What happens after a third lie is unknown. There is also no restriction on who Sridnik can question. Salkov suspects the beast deliberately gives traitors multiple chances so they can be broken down and repurposed as loyal tools. So far, only Theta has been marked by this ability. Like other Guardian Spirit beasts, it phases through walls. On the first night of the voyage, it extends its head into the air ducts and forcibly shut down Oito's little eye ability, which was controlling a cockroach. Whether it ate the insect or disrupted the Nin directly remains unclear. It disappears when Sridnik uses Zetsu, but his massive aura supply means the beast reappears almost instantly the moment he relaxes. This creates a terrifying dynamic. The more Sridnik grows, the more unstoppable this thing becomes. It turns interrogation into mutilation and turns lies into biological punishment. The ninth Prince Hulkenberg's Guardian Spirit is horrifying in a very different way. It looks like a feathered ape-like ogre with one eye, horns, and an orifice between its shoulder blades. It always perches on Hulkenberg's shoulders like a living crown. This beast is an enhancer with a symbiotic ability designed for group use. It also incorporates manipulation based on Hulkenberg's personality. It solicits people nearby by marking the back of their left hand with a feather-shaped crest. Anyone marked, except Hulkenberg, immediately loses consciousness. When they wake up, their memories are altered so they don't remember passing out. The mark disappears after 10 minutes if the person holds no loyalty towards Hulkenberg. Even then, their memory remains modified. The beast can use this to knock people out at will, including Nin users. Those who receive the mark are half awake in the Nin. Their aura increases, but they cannot see it. The more marked individuals gather around Hulkenberg, the more their aura amplifies. When the entire group shares the same will, the power they releases reaches the highest tiers of Nin. Shikaku feared that this collective strength could wipe out Prince Benjamin's entire faction, while Kurapika believes the shared beliefs bind everyone under severe limitations, where breaking those conditions may result in death. The beast also recognizes Nin users who can see it and who harbor hostile intent. It's already proven capable of stopping Hulkenberg from killing himself by grabbing a bullet aimed at his head mid-air. Hulkenberg believes that this beast granted him a Nin ability the moment he committed fully to the Succession War. Meanwhile, the 7th Prince Luzerus has a Guardian Spirit beast that resembles a giant centipede. It is a conjurer that uses pseudo-coercive manipulation. Its ability revolves around traps. It materializes whatever the target desires and uses that desire as bait. Once the target indulges, the trap activates. Melody believes that this ability is affecting Prince Fugetsu. Fugetsu was stung in the back and became convinced she could use Magical Worm multiple times per day. She pushed herself non-stop, draining her aura and heading towards death within days without intervention. She also showed signs of addiction, making it unlikely she could stop on her own. If this interpretation is correct, Luzerus's beast can harm other princes. Either it bypasses the rule against direct attacks, or its traps do not count as direct aggression. This beast weaponizes desire, exhaustion, and addiction, turning a person's want into a death sentence. The 6th Prince Tyson's Guardian Spirit Beast takes yet another twisted route. It is an emitter with a diffusive levy ability. It looks like a floating heart with 4 small wings and a large central eye. From a sphincter-like opening, it produces smaller Nin beasts called eyewogs. Eyewogs are lizard-sized creatures with a single large eye, prehensile hands, and tadpole-like tails. They attach themselves to anyone exposed to Tyson's teachings. These creatures drain aura while providing happiness in return. The more thoroughly someone reads the Book of Tyson, the stronger the happiness effect becomes. There is only one taboo in Tyson's teachings. Breaking it results in severe punishment, though the exact consequences remain unknown. This beast creates a self-sustaining system of emotional manipulation, aura taxation, and enforced belief. Several Guardian Spirit beasts remain unrevealed, including those belonging to Benjamin, Camilla, Zhang Li, and to Beppa. When their abilities surface, they are almost guaranteed to rival or exceed the horrors already seen. Nin can already do terrible things, but Spirit Guardian beasts take it a step further by embedding that horror directly into inheritance itself. Living Vacuum of Death. At first glance, this weird vacuum cleaner with a long, dangling tongue looks goofy and kind of hilarious. But that vibe disappears fast once you realize what it can actually do. Blinky is Shizuku's signature weapon, and a product of her conjuration abilities. She can summon it at will, and it comes with a very specific set of rules. Blinky can inhale an infinite amount of non-living objects. It refuses to suck up anything it considers alive, and it cannot vacuum objects made of Nin. That restriction turns out to be useful, since it lets her detect traps that rely on Nin constructs. Once Blinky inhales something, it's gone, and only the very last object it sucked can be spit back out. Everything else disappears permanently, and even Shizuku has no idea where it goes. There's no storage space, no visible exit, and no explanation. Stuff just vanishes. This ability makes Blinky incredibly valuable to the Phantom Troop. It allows them to erase crime scenes completely. After Franklin massacres everyone at the underground auction, Shizuku uses Blinky to clean the entire place. Blood, corpses, severed limbs, and even microscopic traces of the massacre are vacuumed away. The auction hall ends up spotless, as if nothing ever happened. In combat, Blinky is not just a cleanup tool. Shizuku swings it like a blunt weapon. She uses it to quickly kill Ivlenkov and Baze after they escape Franklin's initial slaughter. She also knocks out Nobunaga with it to stop him from fighting Finks after things get heated. The vacuum cleaner hits hard enough to drop experienced fighters, which already makes it dangerous before its actual ability even comes into play. Blinky can also remove foreign substances from living bodies. Shizuku demonstrates this by extracting the neurotoxin from Uvogin after he gets poisoned. This confirms that Blinky can selectively target substances inside someone without killing them, as long as the target itself is considered alive. It appears that Shizuku has to verbally state what she wants Blinky to vacuum, which suggests the ability relies on clear intent rather than automatic activation. Direct contact is not always required. Blinky can inhale objects from a short distance, which makes it more flexible and more dangerous in combat situations. The most horrifying use of Blinky is blood removal. If someone has open wounds, Shizuku can order Blinky to vacuum their blood straight out of their body. This bypasses armor, durability, and raw strength. As long as blood is exposed, Blinky can drain it. This becomes painfully clear during the Chimera Ant crisis. When the troop return to Meteor City and find it invaded by Chimera Ants under Zazen, they enter the massive nest and split up to hunt her down. Shizuku runs into Pike, an ant officer who uses extremely strong webbing. She deflects his webs with Blinky and immediately notices how tough the fibers are. She reads Pike's movements while dodging his attacks, summoning and dispelling Blinky as needed to defend herself. Pike traps her with his love shower, but she creates an opening in the web using the vacuum and lets it stick to her clothes instead of her body. When Pike tries to take her to Zazen, she slips out and smashes him repeatedly with Blinky. After stepping back, she confidently decides to keep her distance so she does not get trapped again. Then she finishes the fight in the most brutal way possible. She orders Blinky to drain Pike's blood through the multiple wounds she created. Pike cannot cover them all at once and the blood loss overwhelms him. Once Blinky finishes, Shizuku prepares to leave, then briefly returns to comment that they were both pretty stupid since Pike could have covered himself in webbing to stop the bleeding. What makes Blinky so horrifying is how clean and absolute it is. It erases evidence, removes bodies, deletes matter, and kills without spectacle. It turns blood into a weakness that can be exploited instantly, and once Blinky finishes its job, there's nothing left behind to prove anything ever happened. Zombie Girl. Zombie Girl takes Blinky's job to a much creepier level. Misha Hao was once a member of the GU family, working as a cleaner. You know, the kind of job where you clean up the aftermath of the Mafia's bloody work and make sure no evidence is left behind. Misha is dead now, but that didn't stop her from continuing the job. Through a post-mortem nin ability called Zombie Girl, she still serves the GU as their undertaker. Death didn't end her role, but rather locked her into it permanently. Zombie Girl activates whenever someone is killed by a GU member. The moment a kill happens, she appears and takes control of the corpse by riding on their back. She makes the bodies stand up, walk around, and even speak if necessary. The goal is simple and chilling: prevent attention, avoid suspicion, and erase the problem in plain sight. This ability is shown clearly when GU underboss Henry gets attacked by the Haley members in a crowded area. Henry kills Padel during the fight and the situation immediately turns dangerous. A crowd starts forming, people begin watching, and chaos is seconds away. Henry needs the scene neutralized without drawing heat. Right on cue, Zombie Girl activates. Padel suddenly gets back on his feet with aura swelling around him and stands beside Henry. Soldiers arrive and try to calm the crowd. They question Padel directly and he responds calmly, acting like the fight was resolved. Henry backs this up, claiming the gunshots were fired at him. One soldier recognized Henry as a GU underboss and Henry confirms it while labeling Padel as an ordinary civilian. The soldiers let Padel go and the crowd watches while the badly wounded man walks away from the scene. What they don't see is Misha riding on Padel's back, completely invisible to everyone else. Once the corpse is taken somewhere safe, Zombie Girl finishes the job. The body disappears and Misha vanishes with it. Misha has never been seen speaking and nothing is known about her personality when she was alive. What her nin reveals is more unsettling than any backstory. Nin reflects personal identity, and her post-mortem ability suggests absolute loyalty to the Jiyu family. Even death didn't release her from that duty. She keeps cleaning up, endlessly and silently. There's one visual detail that makes everything worse. She has a bullet wound directly in the center of her forehead, which strongly hints at how she died, and it makes her continued existence feel even more wronged. Unlike most post-mortem Nin ability we've seen so far, hers isn't haunting the living out of anger or regret. She's working. Zombie Girl is a perfect example of how far Nin could go in creating something horrifying. With post-mortem Nin in play, death does not slow anything down, but it actually makes the ability even stronger, even when the user has been dead for ages. Life-absorbing cat. Camilla, the second prince of the Kakian Empire, has her own guardian spirit beast whose abilities remain unknown. But even without that reveal, she already ranks among the most terrifying princes because of her personal Nin ability. Cat's name uses post-mortem Nin, but unlike most abilities that benefit from death, this one demands it. For Cat's name to activate, Camilla has to actually die. The moment she is killed, the counter activates automatically. A massive cat-like Nin beast appears directly behind the person who delivered the killing blow. It grabs them in its paws, crushes them, and extracts their life force. The victim's body gets completely destroyed in the process while leaving nothing behind. The stolen life energy then flows to the tip of the beast's tail, which turns white and starts glowing. The beast then pours that energy into Camilla's mouth, which lets her injuries heal instantly. Her body restores itself, and she comes back to life like nothing happened. The boost from post-mortem Nin pushes this ability to a ridiculous level, making Camilla nearly impossible to kill as long as someone finishes her off. She proves how broken this ability is when she targets first Prince Benjamin. On the way, she encounters one of his soldiers and openly reveals her plan to assassinate Benjamin. She deliberately provokes the soldier while staying in Zetsu. The soldier shoots her 3 times, once in the forehead and twice in the chest, where she dies on the spot. Seconds later, Cat's name activates. The cat-like Nin beast appears, consumes the soldier completely, and uses his life force to revive Camilla at full health. She gets back up and continues towards Benjamin as if nothing happened. She then storms into Benjamin's quarters and tries to repeat the same tactic by attempting to provoke the soldiers into shooting her again. But this time, it fails. Benjamin recognizes what her ability does and immediately orders his men not to attack her. He understands the core weakness of Cat's name and exploits it without hesitation. Because death is the trigger, Camilla cannot reduce damage or activate her ability unless someone actually kills her. If enemies refuse to deal the finishing blow, she has no safety net. Benjamin's soldiers restrain her instead, slap her in handcuffs, and lock her in a cell. In that state, she is completely helpless. There is still uncertainty around the finer details. No one knows for sure whether Camilla must be in Zetsu when she dies for Cat's name to activate, which adds another layer of unpredictability to the ability. Cat's name shows just how Nin can twist one's mindset. Using post-mortem Nin, Camilla turns death into a weapon instead of danger. She can stroll into gunfire without worrying, because someone else ends up paying for it. Killing her becomes a fatal mistake, and every attack just feeds her power. Nin doesn't just shield her, it actually rewards her for dying. Death-forged blades. Ben's knives are one of the creepiest examples of Nin tied to human obsession. Benny Delon was a master blacksmith who lived about 100 years ago, but what people didn't know was that he was secretly a serial killer. Every time he murdered someone, he forged a numbered knife as a keepsake. In total, he made 288 knives, each engraved with a number showing where it fell in his collection. The knives were sold alongside his normal blades in his shop. Eventually, his crimes got exposed and he was arrested. Even during his time in prison, he bragged that his victims' screams and expressions inspired his work. His creations are often divided into 3 periods, and the form of each blade gives hints about its properties. Some knives show toxicity, others reveal the sharpness linked to the period when they were forged. Today, these knives are extremely valuable. Each one can sell for at least 5 million Jenny, and some go for even more depending on their number. Corlo owns one of these knives and later uses it in his fights against Zeno and Silva. The blade is horrifyingly sharp, enough to cut through Silva's tough skin, and it carries a deadly toxin. Only 0.1 milligram of it can paralyze a whale. Silva has to make a tourniquet on the spot just to stop the poison from spreading. That combination of extreme sharpness and lethal poison makes these knives terrifying even in the hands of someone else. Benny didn't know about Nin, and probably had no clue, but somehow the aura he unconsciously put into these knives persisted over time. It's implied that he unconsciously infused his knives with aura while forging them. That residual aura may contribute to the knive's deadliness, enhancing sharpness, toxicity, or durability. Why the aura lasts so long after his death isn't fully explained, but it could be a form of post-mortem Nin. Nin users can sense this aura from the knives through intuition or gyo. Ben's knife shows how Nin can preserve human intent and obsession, letting it linger and affect the world long after the person is dead. And this concept becomes especially horrifying when a serial killer is the one behind them. The Nin Leech. Rihan and his Nin ability Predator is one of the most dangerous but also strangest abilities in the Kakyan Royal Army. Rihan is a high-ranking soldier working directly under Prince Benjamin. He's assigned to protect Prince Saleh Saleh, but Benjamin's real plan is to take out the prince's guardian spirit beast. That's where Predator comes in. This ability can counter and shut down other Nin abilities, but it comes with serious risk. Predator works by growing a sort of creature inside Rihan's body after he picks a target. The catch is, he can't just cancel any ability on the spot. The Predator only works if Rihan fully understands the ability he wants to neutralize. That means he has to watch the target Nin ability multiple times, study it, analyze it, and basically memorize how it functions. The more precise his understanding, the more effective Predator becomes. This observation requirement is a huge tactical headache. When Benjamin tasked him with eliminating Saleh Saleh's guardian spirit, Rihan spent 5 full days secretly observing how it worked. 5 days of surveillance just to gather intel. That kind of time commitment is dangerous because it leaves him exposed and vulnerable to discovery. Once he's confident he understands the target, Rihan focuses his aura between his hands and breathes out to conjure the Predator. In the Saleh Saleh mission, the Predator literally swallowed the prince's guardian spirit beast and took its place beside the prince. Non-Nin users couldn't tell the difference, making it a perfect stealth tool for assassination. Rihan described Predator as a kind of inaccurate spray and pray weapon. It's risky, but if it hits, it guarantees victory. Despite that, it comes with major limitations. Predator doesn't work against simple enhancement or emission abilities because they target the user directly, which usually triggers immediate retaliation. It also struggles against opponents with multiple abilities or counteractive powers that can adapt to Predator. The biggest downsides comes after a successful use. Rihan loses all access to Nin for 48 hours. That's 2 full days where he's completely defenseless, which is why he can't rely on Predator for constant combat. After finishing his mission and knowing he can't use Nin for the next 2 days, Rihan contacts his superior to report his success and asks to swap his security shift with Yushohi's so Yushohi can take out the defenseless prince. Another strict rule is that Rihan has to personally gather all the intel himself. If he relies on his teammates or allies for information, Predator weakens to the point that it might fail completely. This is why Balsamilko refuses to give him details about Hulkenberg's ability, as they intend to target the 9th Prince after they're done with Tubepa, and sharing that intel would make Predator useless when the time comes. Despite all the risk, Predator is terrifying because it can neutralize abilities that normally can't be stopped and replace them seamlessly. It's essentially a perfect assassination tool when all the conditions are met, turning careful observation and patience into lethal precision. The mix of being super vulnerable, needing perfect timing, and quietly wiping out a threat makes Predator one of the most chilling Nin abilities in the Succession War.